Now, I've been a penne alla vodka connoisseur for 40 years now. And contrary to what you might have heard, I've even had it in Italy. And these days, it's rare to find one that has that iconic flavor that you grew up on. Why do they all taste flat? They're pale, one note, weak vodka sauces. I want this video to help you understand the truth behind what makes some vodka sauces a disappointment and turns others into legends. And I'm here to share with you the formula to achieve it. Today we're gonna be making the silkiest, most flavorful vodka sauce you're gonna find anywhere, and you don't have to travel to get it. This is the classic Rigatoni alla vodka. Now before we get into it, we need to make a spicy roasted garlic bomba. This is an optional step, but this is going to add complexity. It's gonna act as the chili flake that is common in this dish, and it's gonna add acidity that's gonna create a roundness to the dish. Vodka sauce is all about layered flavors, and this is one of those layers. Now we just kind of want a small pot, and we want enough garlic in there to kind of cover one layer at the bottom of the pan. And I'm gonna show you how to speed run roasted garlic. We're just gonna cut the pieces in half and make them smaller. Get all those papers off, and then get those into the pot. And we're just gonna cover it with about a cup of oil. We just wanna get them submerged. So now I just wanna get the heat up on high, and I wanna bring that oil up to like a frying temp. We're gonna start these off hot and fast and almost get them to start to kind of develop some color around the outside of the garlic. Then I'm just gonna turn the heat down to low, and then once they've cooked for about 10 minutes, they've got some color and they're beginning to soften, then we're gonna just turn the heat off and allow them to just cool down in that oil and finish cooking through it. While that cools, we can get our water on the stove and get it up to a boil for our pasta. After a few minutes, it's cooled down a bit. We're just gonna strain the garlic from the oil, and it's super soft, just like roasted garlic should be, except we just kind of sped up the process, cheated it a little bit. Now we're gonna take that garlic, add it to a quart container or a blender, whatever you got. I'm just gonna be using a stick blender here. To this, we're gonna be adding 2 spices. They both add different complexity. Some cherry peppers. So I'm gonna go in with probably like a quarter of a cup. For this, you kind of want the red rather than the green, but doesn't really matter. Generally, you put chili flake in this, so this is sort of replacing that. And then a tablespoon of the chopped Calabrian chili with some of their oil. We also have to add some of the cherry pepper liquid, maybe like 2-3 tablespoons. And then some of that roasted garlic oil, and then puree. And you're just gonna puree until smooth. And if you find it hard to blend and it's not pureeing quite as smooth as this, then just add a little bit more of the oil until it starts to process smoothly. Now we got our bomba. You can put this on anything. That's gonna add complexity for this dish for us. Next up, an onion, small onion, or shallots, couple cloves of garlic. For the onion, slice the top and the bottom off, cut that in half. And then we wanna take it and we wanna cut it from pole to pole into slices. You can follow the lines that run across the surface of the onion. And then just work your way across the surface of the onion. About a half cup of onions, that should be plenty. This is gonna bring the sweetness. Then some garlic, slice it in half, cut into thin slices. You didn't see my recent video about restoring your wood cutting board? You should check it out. Look how beautiful mine is, keeping it nice and clean. Now, if you go online and watch like restaurants make a penne alla vodka, you'll notice a lot of pale, light pink sauces where the cream to tomato ratio is all out of whack. Haphazardly thrown together as if there's any old way to make good vodka sauce. And much like meatballs, it's not about a secret ingredient, but rather how you bring it all together. And there's 3 things I want you to focus on when you're making this. The first is tomato concentration. We're using both tomato paste for deep richness and a light, refreshing, acidic tomato passata that's going to balance it and add some kind of like fresh complexity to the dish. The second is once you've concentrated the tomato, balancing the tomato with the proper amount of cream. I'm not gonna give a standard amount, I'll give a range, but we're going to be going by color rather than amounts. The third is fat. We've got the roasted garlic oil, but we need for that classic flavor, and you can't do this without it to make it vegetarian, but you're gonna need a pork fat. And prosciutto is the thing I grew up on. Usually thinly sliced and then cut up into bits, almost melts into the sauce, but I've got some diced up bits here. Now, if we can bring all of those together in harmony, finish it with a ton of Parmigiano Reggiano and some cold butter, we're gonna get the silkiest, most flavorful vodka sauce you've ever had. And we're not serving it with penne, we're serving it with rigatoni. You know why penne kind of lost favor? It just doesn't look good on the plate. Rigatoni's got some lift to it. Now focus, let's lock in and head on over to the stove. Now the first step to creating this full flavored vodka sauce is fat. So in my saucier, I'm gonna add some of that roasted garlic oil from earlier, a knob of butter, and once that butter melts, we're going to add in the prosciutto. And the fat in that prosciutto is a vital component as far as what I grew up eating. That fat should infuse into the other fats and give off this incredible aroma that elevates the vodka sauce. Once they're lightly browned and the fat is rendered, we're gonna take a slotted spoon and remove the prosciutto, keeping all of the fat in the pan. We wanna avoid getting them too crispy. We wanna have a little bit of meat in the final bite. Now to the pan, we're going to add these sliced onions. We're gonna season them with salt, and we wanna cook those onions down in that fat on like a medium flame and allow those onions to develop their sugar and their sweetness. We want that aroma to turn sweet rather than a pungent one. And once those onions are almost where we want them, we're going to add in that sliced garlic and allow that about 5 minutes to soften and become fragrant while those onions continue to deepen. Now the next step is a crucial one. The tomato paste. The amount that you add is going to determine the quantity of the sauce. So for my formula, for 1 pound of pasta, I'm using 1 whole tub of Mutti double concentrated tomato paste. We're gonna season the tomatoes lightly. Vodka sauce needs salt, so we're gonna add salt in layers. And you wanna make sure you use double concentrated tomato paste. The secret to vodka sauce is a balance between the concentration of tomato flavor and the richness of cream. So add that whole tube in, and when we need to fry that tomato paste in all of that fat. We want to cook it until the tomato paste transforms in color from that bright red to a deep, dark caramelized one. This is the flavor base for what will become our incredible vodka sauce. Now it's time for the all-important vodka. Turn off the heat and add a ½ cup of vodka. To me, it's unbelievable how many chefs claim vodka doesn't do anything, but it does. It does to tomatoes what salt does to food in general. Brings out the flavor. Now you can either turn the heat back on and just reduce the vodka or flambe it. Something I don't do often, but I do believe it helps with the concentration of flavor for this recipe. Allow the alcohol to burn off and then get it back onto the stove. Then we're going to add in about 3/4 of a cup of passata, or tomato puree. This is going to add just a bit more depth and roundness to the whole dish. And while I don't want to cook it long, we do want to reduce the moisture out of it until it's thickened slightly. Now to that, we can add in our heat and our acidity in the form of our roasted garlic bomba. About 3 tablespoons or more to taste if you want. Stir that in and continue to cook it until the tomatoes have reduced about 5 to 10 minutes. Now, of course, the most important stage is the cream. Too much and it drowns out the tomato, too little and it's just a light tomato sauce. Now, we aren't going to measure it. I'm not going to give you an amount, but we're going to use color as our guide. We're going to start slowly, stirring constantly to almost temper the cream so it doesn't break and emulsifies into the sauce. And the color is the guide to the level of flavor concentration in the sauce. And for me, neon orange tells me I'm right where I like it. Now, you can always add a little bit more cream to lighten it later on, but it's hard to add more tomato to balance it back out. So if anything, lean on the more orange side and then adjust later if you like it creamier. This is totally optional. I find though, I like to get like that really silky texture. I'm gonna run it through a strainer. Then all you're really just left with is the remaining onion pulp, which you can obviously keep in, but if you look at this texture, that's what I want. Now this right here, that's our base. From here, we're gonna add pasta water, Parmigiano Reggiano, butter, and all those things are gonna go ahead and make this super silky. It's also gonna add more volume to it. So if this looks like a little bit, all together, this probably will satisfy about a pound of pasta. But the color shouldn't be pink, it should be like a neon orange. Pink is weak, orange is flavor. Go by look rather than a recipe. And even though I'm no longer a young picky eater, when I was a kid, I hated when this had the onion in it. So this is homage to my younger self, given that I just turned 40. We can finish this up back on the stove, combine this with our prosciutto. We've got our rigatoni. I use mezze rigatoni, it's a little bit better, closer to penne. I just measured it onto my platter. Cheese and very cold butter. Now we've got our pot of salted water. I'm going to add the pasta to it and cook it 2 minutes shorter than the package suggests. Now we're gonna get back to the saucier to finish our sauce. Spoon a few tablespoons of the vodka sauce into the pot and then add in a portion of the prosciutto back into the sauce. I'm also gonna add another capful of the vodka, which I find adds a little brightness at the end. Then we're just gonna bring it up to a simmer and cook that down while the pasta finishes cooking. We can give the sauce a taste. If the vodka sauce tastes flat at all, that's just a sign it needs salt. Vodka sauce can take it. And after a few minutes, that sauce is looking real nice. It can coat a spoon, but it flows off it easily. And it's the right color and it tastes full of flavor. By now the pasta should be ready. Pull out the rigatoni along with some of the pasta water and add it to the sauce. Continue cooking the pasta in the sauce, adding pasta water as needed until the pasta is nice and al dente. About 4 more minutes. Give it one final taste for seasoning and add in a few tablespoons of cold butter off the heat. That butter and that pasta water are what's going to give that sauce that glossy finish and shine that I find is iconic to vodka sauce. And then we're gonna add a touch more pasta water just to compensate for the cheese we're about to add. And then that final essential step to the finishing the sauce is a handful of grated Parmesan cheese. Toss that cheese into the pasta until it gently melts and blends with the sauce. That's the texture you're looking for. Sauce clinging to the pasta. It's not clumpy, it's smooth. The pasta and the sauce are one. Now to plate, I'm not even gonna get cute with it. I'm just gonna pour it into a platter, finish with some prosciutto on top, some fresh leaves of parsley for some color, and then finish with more grated parm. Now that's how you make a great vodka sauce. The kind I remember eating as a kid, and the kind that will make you a legend in your family. If the color don't hit you right off the bat, it ain't gonna be good. Notice how it shines, glistens in that sauce. Ooh boy, with a real penne vodka sauce, please stand up. It should be taking a round trip around your mouth. Complexity, roundness, richness, acidity, creaminess. Now I know this isn't rocket science, but there is a philosophy behind this dish and you cannot just make it without understanding it. But now you got the tools for greatness. And that sauce is great. Recipe's gonna be linked down in the description. That's all I got for you today. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and go feed yourself.